International Airport in Missoula. Up on the wall, up on the ceiling are portraits of the pioneering pilots. You know, Bob Johnson and his brother. There's, I think, 5 or 6 guys up there. I was with all those guys. And the romantic part of smoke jumping was that St. Patrick's School of Nursing was in town. And for years, they had parties and they invited, all you have to do is call the jumper base and send a bunch of guys over. So that was just a common thing. And sometimes when you had bug it up, you'd end up in St. Patrick's, St. Patrick's in Missoula, And then you met more people. Anyways, I'm Irish, so I ramble on and on. One of the guys that's in the airport is Kenny Roth, a very famous pilot, and he flew for Johnson for many, many, many years. And he was there. He was one of the pilots when I was there. And I met a nurse in training in '53, and oh Christ, I thought it was the most perfect thing ever. I finally had a real girlfriend, and she was from Montana, by God. And I was going to finish college in Massachusetts, and I'd come out the next year, and then I thought I had my whole damn life planned out. I'll just stay doing this stuff. Well, I didn't know that her brother worked for Johnson Flying Service, and her brother was a friend of Kenny Roth's, so he introduced his sister to Kenny Roth sometime during that summer. So as the summer proceeded, she just seemed cooler and cooler towards me, and I didn't notice that, being 19. And then I came out back in '54, and it was like talking to an iceberg, But you never, we were funny back then. We didn't discuss anything. How do you feel about this, I never asked her anything. I just, like to myself, what the hell's going on here? So it just sort of petered out that year. And then I come to find out when I came to the first reunion in '84, she had married this guy, married the pilot, so she'd basically been 2-time with me. And she had a bunch of kids with him. And I met him at the reunion, and I didn't tell him the backstory of who his wife, Sally, had been going out with before she was introduced to him. But those are maturation things too, kind of a naive kid, and you think, hey, this is going to work just perfect. I'm a forester. This is the Forest Service. I can work for them. I can get on permanently. I got a woman that I like, and then, that's a wake-up call, right? So that was one of the interesting events there. So I don't know. I never got any injuries. I guess I might have been lucky or paid attention to what the instructions were, but I don't have any hairy stories of the chute ripping on one side and coming down, having to pull out my reserve chute and it not opening till the last minute. But there's stories like that, people that have experienced that around. But I guess I just had a tremendous appreciation for these veterans, and for in my life I've had 2 bosses that I considered worth working for. One was Fred Brower, who was in charge of the operation from middle 40s until he had forced retirement when he was 45 years old. But he was a guy that you would almost die for. No nonsense, and slap on the back. And his nickname was Good Deal Brower, because he would, when he had to send you out on a project work because there was a couple of weeks of rain, it was always a good deal. I got a good deal for you up at Sealy Lake. I got a good deal for you down at Selway Bitterroot. So he became known as Good Deal Brower. And these were projects the forest wanted to get done: paint a building, clear trails, anything like that. We even did a plumbing job down in Kelly Creek in my second year, and that was another one of Good Deal Brower's projects. But we idolized him, and he had been a pilot in World War II. He wasn't a fighter pilot. He flew transports, and he towed gliders with troops on board into the thick of it near the end of World War II. In fact, there's a movie that came out called A Bridge Too Far. And it's about taking the Remagen Bridge that goes into Germany, and he was one of the many pilots that towed gliders over and cut them loose and hoped they survived. And you know, he was something. And he chewed tobacco all the time. And you know, we'd look up to him and just, oh, there's Fred. And he always made a few jumps during the training just to show that he could still do it. And when he got on the plane, he often had a tube of lifesaver candies, and he called them streamer pills. You know, a streamer is when the chute opens, and for some reason it doesn't open. You know, it streams. It just sort of twists up on itself, and you're like a maple key. You know, these things that spin around, come down from maple trees. The chute's just all tangled. There's no way, nothing you can do except take your emergency out. You know, release it and hope it works. So he'd go along to us sitting in the plane and say, "Have a streamer pill. Have a streamer pill. Have a streamer pill." and you know, it breaks the tension because we were scared shitless. I mean, it was the night before the first jump when I was training. I looked in the first aid book for, you know, somebody come in for this or that, a scratch or anything. We had a first aid book at the camp, and I went through it years later, and quite a few guys came in because they had diarrhea, you know, the night before their very first jump, and everybody sort of went quiet. I remember they posted the list of the planes, the jumpers that were going to be in the different planes at the base before the planes came in the next day. So guys would go over there and you go down the list and oh my God, okay. And you know, and you get nervous and you don't sleep, and because none of us knew what it was going to be like, you know, for the first jump. And we had the jump training. You just jumped off a platform and bounced on the end of a rope. Today you go out there, they've got these things, you come down at a big angle and you hit the ground, you can practice a roll. We jumped off a platform and practiced our rolls. We had bounced off this silly tower, which was the best they could do. But it's not till you're in the plane and going out the door that you know what it's all about. You know, it's pretty frightening. You know, but then after, and that's probably why you did 7 practice jumps, because after 3 or 4, you know how long it's going to take before the chute's open. You know what the rush of air is going to be like. You know what the airplane's really stinky. The exhaust, because the door's open and the exhaust is swirling in there. But after, I'd say 3 or 4 jumps, you can anticipate all that's going to happen, and it becomes a bit easier. And so that's why the first year you do 7 jumps. So at least the last 2 or 3 of the 7, you know, they're I wouldn't say they're enjoyable, but they're almost enjoyable. You know? And you can sort of, you know, instead of counting 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and if something hasn't happened, figure out what the hell's wrong with the chute, or do I have to pull a reserve? You know, you could go out and just go, yeah! And in your back of your head, you're thinking 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and pop, you know, it opens. So it gets a bit easier, you know, after that. But and that's all in my box called coming of age, you know. So and then some of the guys would kind of strut around a bit, and you know, by God, I got an acceptable on my jump today. So. And after every practice jump, they always serve steak, you know, for dinner out there, and that was a, you know, obviously a real treat after that. And then kids would start to warm up. They'd talk about their jumps and so forth. So.